Delighted to cross to Rosarito, Mexico, where we're joined by our friend Thomas Markle, the father of the Duchess.
So here's the shocker. Meghan Markle swears up and down she was born in 1981. But her own father, Thomas Markle, he says the math doesn't add up at all. And then, as if the universe wanted to stir the pot, an old issue of 17 magazine pops up from 1997 calling Meghan 21 years old back then. Do the math yourself. If that's true, she's 6 years older than what she's been telling the world. 6 years. So, which story's the truth, and more importantly, why does it even matter? Normally, when a dad talks about his daughter, the world expects soft words, sweet memories, maybe a proud anecdote or two. But with Meghan, every single word Thomas Markle utters gets pulled apart like courtroom testimony. Every syllable, every pause, dissected, analyzed, and thrown back into the public arena. Over the years, Thomas hasn't just hinted, he's come right out and said it. This Meghan Markle, the palace polished and fed to the press, isn't the same girl he raised. And that's not just a petty dad-daughter spat. His words cut sharper than gossip. They take aim at Meghan's timeline itself. Think about it. Dates not lining up, milestones feeling forced, and now one tiny detail dragged out of the dusty archives that flips everything upside down. So, was Meghan really born in 1981? Or has her age been carefully rewritten for decades? All of it started with one almost invisible clue, a tiny breadcrumb left behind that suddenly looks enormous.
Worried that Harry and Meghan might end up suing you for something you say, given you know they're very friendly with their lawyers, aren't they?
Well, they can sue me, but what are they going to get?
Flip open 17 magazine, March 1997, page 90. Nothing special at first glance, right? But online fans digging through old issues spotted one little line. Meghan Markle listed as 21 years old. Just a filler line, nothing anyone would pay attention to back then. But now, that single number blows her whole narrative to pieces. If Meghan was truly born in 1981, she would have been 15 in 1997, not 21. That's a 6-year difference, and in Meghan's world, 6 years changes everything. Unlike some rumor floating around social media, this isn't a shady screenshot or a fake tweet. This is ink, on paper, a publication you can still pull from the archives today. And here's why it matters. Because in royal life, paperwork isn't just paperwork. Birth certificates, marriage records, press briefings, they're not casual scribbles. They're the bricks that hold up a dynasty's walls. But as commentators love to whisper, bricks can be moved. They can be shifted. Remember Archie's birth certificate? Filed with Meghan's full name, Rachel Meghan Markle. And then, poof, quietly amended weeks later. Her given names erased. Just Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. If a royal document that official can be rewritten after the fact, then suddenly the idea of an unshakable timeline isn't so unshakable anymore. And that's exactly why Thomas Markle's words land like a hammer. He isn't just questioning Meghan's story, he's pointing straight at the palace, suggesting even those official documents might not be the final truth.
Markle has never told me a lie. Every single thing that she has said about either you or Meghan has checked out. Fact.
And people online, they've gone wild comparing this to Hollywood's age games. Because let's be real, shaving 5 years off your age in Hollywood is practically a survival tactic. But Meghan's case, this isn't just about looking younger for a role. This is about whether the world has been spoon-fed a version of her life that was set in stone, permanent, official, while another version was quietly penciled in underneath. If that 17-page was right, Meghan wouldn't have been some fresh-faced 20-something when she stepped into Hollywood. She'd have been pushing 30, and at her royal wedding, forget 36, she would have been in her early 40s. Just imagine how differently that would have played in the press. Because here's the kicker, if the palace can blur something as basic as a birth year, then what else has been softened, adjusted, or simply erased? If Meghan's timeline were airtight, her dad's words would have been dismissed years ago. But the more people dig, the more the cracks show. And now, the trail leads straight to her Northwestern University years. Meghan officially graduated from Northwestern University in 2003, majoring in theater and international studies. On paper, she was that classic 22-year-old straight out of Los Angeles, armed with ambition and charm. But then those alumni photos started resurfacing online, and suddenly the story didn't look so neat. There's one particular salsa club picture from campus. Meghan smiling casually in the back row seems normal until you notice the people around her. Many of those classmates, the ones standing right beside her, are now in their mid-50s. Do the math again, that puts their birth years somewhere in the early 1970s, and that's when the whispers got louder. Were they older students who just happened to be there, or was Meghan herself closer in age to them than her carefully crafted biography suggests? The contrast at recent reunions only made this tension explode. Fans swear the difference is glaring. If 17 said she was 21 in 1997, and if her college group looks more like the 1970s generation, then maybe this wasn't coincidence at all. Maybe this was the start of a long-running adjustment, one that smoothed out her age just enough to fit a shinier narrative. And let's not pretend Hollywood doesn't play these games. Former casting agents openly admitted, if an actress is over 30, you lose half the scripts overnight. Trim a few years, and suddenly you've doubled your chances. With Meghan, trimming 6 years wasn't just helpful, it was career-saving. It meant competing with fresh 20-somethings for ingenue roles instead of being boxed into mom characters in her 30s. That incentive wasn't small, it was everything.
I think Harry has made a direct complaint about Samantha's Twitter account.
Yes, that's the understanding that apparently he knows the person who runs Twitter.
And when Meghan walked down the aisle in 2018, the media made sure to hammer it home. 36-year-old bride, modern bride in her 30s, glamorous and youthful Duchess. But if she was actually in her early 40s, the narrative changes entirely. Suddenly, she isn't this glamorous 30-something rewriting royal history. She's a 40-something, and that subtle difference would have rewritten headlines, shifted public perception, and even rattled the palace's carefully polished story of youthful glamour. Because let's face it, the monarchy thrives on image. Every detail is calculated. And if the public realizes even one of those details has been massaged, the whole structure starts to wobble. That's why Thomas Markle's claims hit with such force. It's not just a dad doubting his daughter. It's a father pointing out cracks in the monarchy's story itself. And the pattern doesn't stop there. It's like dominoes falling, one contradiction after another. Fans online have found more breadcrumbs. Alumni lists floating around that put Meghan's birth year closer to 1976 or 1977. Event programs that don't match up with the official record. Old acquaintances claiming they remember her being older than the glossy profile suggested. Individually, each clue is flimsy. Together, they form an echo you can't ignore. And then we circle back to the palace's own paperwork. That infamous change on Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor's birth certificate, Rachel Meghan Markle's full name stripped, leaving just her title. Palace officials tried to brush it off, saying it was for consistency, but insiders have whispered for years that it felt odd, even suspicious. If royal documents can be bent after the fact, then what else has been adjusted for image control? And once the tabloids caught wind, forget it. This thing was everywhere. The tabloids couldn't resist. They hinted at contradictions in Meghan's timeline, ran headlines suggesting her biography wasn't as airtight as it seemed, and dragged her father's words back into the spotlight. Some commentators tried to downplay it. Oh, magazines make mistakes all the time, they said. But others pointed out that this wasn't just one typo, this was a steady drip of details stretching across decades. And Thomas Markle? He only added fuel to the fire. His interviews, his blunt comments, it wasn't just a dad speaking out of hurt, it was a man insisting that the daughter being presented to the world didn't match the daughter he raised. Suddenly, what could have been dismissed as family drama became a credibility crisis. One GB News commentator even said it outright. If there's even a chance Meghan is older than reported, it doesn't just call her biography into question. It calls the palace's vetting process into question. And that's the real sting here. Because if the monarchy can't keep something as basic as a birth date straight, then what else might they be curating behind those closed palace doors? Inside royal circles, whispers say the staff hated the whole debate. The monarchy thrives on control, carefully managed anniversaries, precisely staged photos, picture-perfect narratives. A public argument about whether one of its most famous members lied about her age, that's chaos. That's the one thing they can't afford. And of course, the comparisons rolled in. Prince Andrew's disastrous BBC interview, Princess Diana's shocking confessions. Each time, it wasn't just the event that hurt the monarchy. It was the collapse of credibility. Once that cracks, it almost never repairs. And then there's Meghan herself, silent, always silent. Fans say her silence is smart strategy. Don't give the rumors oxygen. Don't dignify them with a response. But critics, they see it as hiding. They say the longer she avoids the question, the more it looks like she has something to conceal. One columnist even wrote, "Her silence speaks louder than words." And it did. It created a feedback loop. Silence fueled speculation, speculation fueled headlines, and headlines pushed the story viral. By now, the age debate wasn't just about Meghan anymore. It had snowballed into something bigger, the monarchy's ability to maintain trust. If their carefully polished biographies could contain even one shaky detail, then suddenly everything else was up for questioning. And here's the twist. The law doesn't care about Meghan's exact age. Whether she's 36 or 42, it doesn't change her marriage to Harry, her Duchess title, or her children's place in the line of succession. Legally, none of that shifts, but royals don't live and die by statutes. They live and die by trust. And once trust cracks, it's almost impossible to rebuild. For Meghan's critics, this was confirmation bias on steroids. They flooded Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, and Instagram calling her the actress who never stopped acting. Viral threads compared her to Hollywood legends who reinvented themselves. Rita Hayworth, born Margarita Cancino. Norma Jean, reborn as Marilyn Monroe. And now Rachel Meghan Markle, maybe reborn as someone younger. One viral post even said bluntly, she didn't just change her life, she changed her age. That thread racked up millions of views and ignited debates about image, branding, and the price of reinvention in the digital age. Industry insiders chimed in with warnings. Actors shaving years off their resumes isn't new, one casting director admitted. But when you marry into the most scrutinized family on earth, every inconsistency becomes a scandal. And that's exactly what happened. Meghan's alleged age game wasn't just gossip, it was a mirror held up to the monarchy itself. Think about it. If Meghan's bio has even one questionable line, then critics can use that as a weapon to challenge everything. Diana's story, Andrew's denials, Harry's path, all of it could suddenly look curated instead of credible. That's why Meghan's so-called age mystery hit harder than anyone expected. It wasn't really about whether she was 36 or 42. It was about whether the monarchy could still claim to be believable in the 21st century. And Meghan? Her silence only deepens the drama. Supporters argue she's wise not to engage, but opponents say every day she stays quiet, the story cements further. Meghan Markle isn't just the actress or the Duchess or even the rebel royal. She's Meghan the mystery, a woman whose timeline may never fully align. And here's the kicker. If a single line buried on page 90 of 17 magazine can cause this much chaos, what happens when the next detail surfaces? Because if ink can be smudged, if pencil marks can be erased, then the story of Meghan Markle might not be finished at all. It might just be in its second draft. So the world waits, watches, and whispers. Is Meghan really who the palace told us she is? Or is there another timeline hidden in plain sight waiting to be exposed? And when that next revelation comes, and you know it will, it won't just rewrite Meghan's past. It could rewrite the monarchy's future. Right?